Hello, everyone, and welcome to Purpose Amplified. I am your host, Ann Wynn. I'm so excited to feature the guest today, whom I will share about very shortly. But I just wanted to welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in and give you a little bit of a background on why I wanted to create and start this live stream. I firmly hold on to the belief that we can all make an impact in some way, shape, or form for whether it is for our local community, for our global community, and we all have talents that can be utilized to make this impact, regardless of what that is. So I hope that these series of interviews will inspire you to go find your own passion and make your own impact, whether it's in your local community or in the global community. And without further ado, I would love to bring on our guest today, Grant Watkins, who is the CEO, the CTO, and the co-founder of Earn Your Freedom. Yes, he wears lots of hats, as most founders often do. Welcome, Grant.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to be on here. I know you guys have been so busy with just so many things, and I can't wait to share with the community what you're up to and what Earn Your Freedom is all about. I'd love for you to introduce yourself briefly to the viewers and also share a little bit about your co-founder or your partner, Keely, who is unfortunately not able to be here with us today.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll start with kind of my story. I'm here in Houston. I work out of downtown right now for most days right now. That'll change shortly. I'll tell you about that later. I'm from the Houston area, born and raised. Went to high school and grew up here, and then went to college up in Tulsa. Moved to China for a bit. Came back here. My whole background's been in sales, from selling cars to came away through college to selling contracts in China, and then real estate when I moved back here. So it's just been, a wild ride of moving and shaking and doing a lot of sales and learning as I go along. But the story really starts around kind of 2019. I was still doing residential real estate, but it wasn't my calling, it wasn't my passion, what I wanted to do with my whole life. And at the same time, I was trying to get my own personal finances in order. And, a lot of people know this, but they don't really teach you personal finance in high school.
No, they don't. It's not even a college course either.
No, I think I got like one semester of, they called it PFP, personal financial planning, in college, because I was a business student. But it was basically just a stack of packets they gave me and were like, good luck. So that didn't help much.
No.
So I started reading all the greats of Robert Kiyosaki and Tony Robbins and Dave Ramsey and all these guys, and started listening to all the audiobooks and podcasts and everything I could get my hands on. And after a while, you kind of realize they're all saying about the same thing with a slight deviation. One's more budgeting, one's more debt. But it's not complicated. The biggest issue is it's not taught, and it's not taught in a way that is really like digestible. Like I can hand you a 300-page book. I've got several of them that are all about personal finance, but they are as dry as they come.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you can't enjoy what you're learning, then it's just going to make it that much more painful and hard to like stick in your head. It's just memorization. Luckily, at the same time, I was also learning or keeping up with my languages on Duolingo, and I just thought, why can't I learn personal finance in a more fun and gamified way? A few things happen, and a buddy of mine actually says, hey, you're trying to gamify these concepts. Why not just make it one cohesive video game? And it all just kind of clicked, because personal finance really is like that. It's all one cohesive thing, because you can't separate your credit score from your credit card, from your car loan, from everything, because they all kind of intermingle when you really get down to it. So why separate them?
Absolutely, because it's all these pieces that work together. And I mean, it's hard enough for an adult to really learn about personal finance in as you said, with dry information training. Can you imagine a student, a young person in middle school or high school going, what is this all about?
Yeah.
So
I was tired of the packets, but that's kind of my story. Keely, I wish she could tell her story. She's just as amazing, if not more. She grew up in the Chicago area, came down here to Houston, She started a lot of small businesses, and they're super interesting. I'd love for her to tell more about that some other time, but she's got a very entrepreneurial background. Went to the University of Houston's Wolf Center for Entrepreneurship, which has, I think, the last 3 years in a row been ranked the #1 entrepreneurship program in the
Wow.
U.S. And she just won the Bill Sherrill Award this past year when she finished her program, which is the basically her peers and her professors all voted her as the #1 student.
That's
So
awesome.
I feel as though I signed Michael Jordan right out of North Carolina.
You have Michael Jordan on your team.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that is so awesome. I would love to have Keely back on sometime so we can learn a little bit more about her. And I so appreciate that these schools, especially U of H and other schools with really award-winning entrepreneurship programs, that they are available now. Because when I went to college, when I went to school, that was not a thing. You went into business, you declared a major, whatever. There was not an entrepreneurship program. And I so appreciate the fact that we have come a long way from those days, and that that is an option for young people, for people coming out of college.
Well, just to brag on Houston for half a second,
Of course.
not only did U of H win the #1 entrepreneurship undergrad program, Houston Community College, I think a year ago, like 2 years in a row, they won the #1 entrepreneurship community college program. And then Rice won, I think, the #1 MBA, like bang for your buck, like highest value for what you're paying.
Yeah.
So it's just, we have an amazing education like system here in Houston when it comes to our collegiate, programs. And now our high schools are changing dramatically, which we'd love to tell you about that of where we're going.
Yes, definitely. We'd love to hear more about that. And in fact, we'll share a little bit of your good news as well that has to do with HISD. And so we're talking about financial literacy and what inspired you. I know you mentioned you were trying to educate yourself on your own personal finances, and then you realized that there was a lack of this education for financial literacy. I think at all levels, really. I imagine there are things that we could even teach elementary school students as well, middle school, high school, and even into adulthood. And I think one of the things you mentioned to me before is that you kind of went down this rabbit hole of looking for resources and trying to figure out, how you can create a better way of educating people, everybody, on personal finance. And what was the inspiration for the Earn Your Freedom, the name of your company?
Yeah. You kind of go down this rabbit hole when you're teaching yourself personal finance. And the scariest part of it is realizing nobody else around you knows anything either. And that's terrifying as a young adult to know, oh my God, nobody knows what they're doing. And we're all just kind of winging it here. I just kind of realized, what's that old saying of, if you want to make $1 million, help 1 million people. So, well, it sounds like there's 300 million Americans who don't know what they're doing with their personal finances. So let's help them out. I kind of figured the name Earn Your Freedom as I was just playing with a few ideas, and I don't know, it's so easy in today's modern like social media world to quickly jump on, well, let's jump on TikTok and let's jump on this and that, and it's just going to blow up an instant gratification. You can have anything at the palm of your hands, but personal finance isn't really like that. It really is a slow play for a lot of people. And whether you want to go the, starting a business, real estate, index fund investing, like T-bills, whatever you want to go down, it is a slower play, and it just takes consistency. You really have to just work for it and earn it. And I really wanted to kind of denote that in the name of Earn Your Freedom. And the biggest thing is, we try playing with the idea of like financial freedom, like how can we do that? And it really is this just kind of like financial burden of you're never truly free until you're at least first financially free. There's a lot of F's there. But yeah, that is kind of like the first thing. And it doesn't matter what your dream scenario is like. If you want to have a house in Malibu, or you just want to retire in your house here and be perfectly fine, whatever your dreams or visions or goals are, you have to first be financially free to achieve them. It's that first kind of let it loose.
Absolutely, because as you mentioned, I mean, it does allow us a certain sense of freedom to continue to follow our dreams, to continue education, whatever that may be. I know there's a saying, money can't buy you happiness, but money can sure buy you like a lot of things that you need in life, such as
It
a
sure
roof
buy
over.
you a lot of peace.
Yes, it can buy you
Yeah,
peace. And
peace.
I think that is probably just as important as happiness. And that it's a great inspiration behind the name, because truly, yeah, when you do have to work at it, it's not going to be given to you, this freedom, because it is work to be financially
Mhm.
literate and earn that freedom as well. Now, I know as part of your mission and your values that you are wanting to achieve or help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals that the UN has put out there. There are 17 goals, in case anybody is not familiar with the SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals. And you mentioned that you are striving to achieve, quality education and reducing inequalities, and that is absolutely, I think, an integral part of your mission, because if you can help people be financially literate, help children learn to be financially literate adults, that would definitely reduce inequalities, and help to reduce poverty as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the greatest thing about this is there is no downside, like at all. If you go and buy a bigger truck, cool, you're putting more CO2 into the air. But if you become financially literate, like, okay, great. Now you're saving more. Now you're retiring earlier. Now, like the planet, there are actual studies done by the UN to show that it's like once you make over 72,000 a year, the average family makes that. They start making more. Uh, what is it? More environmentally conscious decisions. So they'll
Mhm.
spend a little bit more, a dollar or two more on the more natural products instead of the one full of chemicals. They'll spend a dollar or two more on what is it, the compostable, wrapping,
Mhm.
that they
Mhm.
can be better for the planet. Once they reach that, it's that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once my income and like I'm not worried about where my next check is coming from, and I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, cool, I can spend a little bit more to feel good about myself and feel good about the planet and take
Yeah.
care of society as a whole. So
Yeah.
it's just things get better when you make everyone financially literate.
And that is such a great point to bring up, because not only does it help the individual help their family, it does affect your local and global communities, as you've just
Absolutely.
pointed out with the pieces of information from the UN about people being able to have the income to purchase, say, a compostable object or materials, instead of having to buy something cheaper that isn't environmentally conscientious or sound. And that's just one example. Can you imagine of all the other kind of ripples
Yeah.
that you can make and affect the world, just by being financially literate and by being financially sound. And it starts with the literacy piece. I love that. I love that you brought that up, because it didn't even dawn on me that, yeah, this is how all this ties in together. And so thank you for sharing that information. I'll have to definitely dig in more into those stats. I love stats like that. So if
Yeah.
you are
I wish
joining
I knew
us,
her. She's the stats queen. So
oh, Keely is.
yeah.
Oh, and Keely and I will get along
Oh
really well.
yeah.
If you're tuning in, please feel free to drop a comment or have a question for Grant about the Earn Your Freedom. Now, I know you're rolling it into a game, and you mentioned previously. And so, what does that game look like, and where are you in developing this game, and how can people find it, and how can the community help you?
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to kind of take a step back. There is kind of a little misconception when it comes to gaming and gamification. A lot of big companies are spending a lot of money on kind of gamifying certain aspects,
Mhm.
whether that's the user interface for, if I go on somebody's website to try to find information, they might gamify the website so that I stick on it longer, and that could be changing the colors. That could be changing, like, what is it, the placement of different objects, like,
Kind of
uh,
personalizing it for
yeah,
yourself, for
personalizing it.
your own use. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's even people they're going into companies, and the like intra-company software is being gamified so that current workers are even more productive. So you might even get like a little scorecard from your company, that's more literal than anything else. So there is gamification like that, and there's actual making something into a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And the actual making something into a game has shown dramatic increases in retention rate whenever it comes to education, as well as dramatic, I think it's a 25% boost in test scores just
Wow.
by teaching the same material, but as a game instead of a typical lecture lesson plan style with a packet. When you give the kids the freedom, or anybody really, like when Duolingo still gives me the freedom to like play this game and have fun and win little prizes, it sticks in my head longer. But when you
Absolutely.
give them a kind of decision tree of, hey, you can make your own choices of how you want to go with this. Now
Mm-hmm.
they're part of the story, and now they can actually like remember it better. How has human history been told for hundreds of thousands of years? It's been through stories.
Yep.
And now we're just trying to use that same method, but with a little bit better graphics, to teach financial literacy. So we chose to go down this path of making it into a video game because we really want to give the kids the freedom to choose the path of what they want to go down. And one thing that's not talked about enough in financial education is risk and risk tolerance. Because, and you might have a much higher risk tolerance for me than me, and you want to, be a day trader and start moving stocks around and like focus on, the candlebar sticks all day. I don't have that patience. I don't have that risk tolerance.
Nor do I.
Yeah. And for somebody who might not have a high risk tolerance, maybe index funds, investing steadily into the S&P 500 is the way you should go. And great. Like if you do it the right way and you invest in your company's 401k and start your own Roth IRA, you can retire very comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think it was Warren Buffett who said, like, investing is not a sport. It should be boring. It should be really boring.
Exactly.
He's one of the wealthiest investors on the planet. He makes 3 or 4 deals a year. The rest of the time he's just sitting there watching it. We are not trying to teach kids to be day traders. We are not trying to teach kids to be high risk.
That's good to know if there are any concerned parents out there.
Yeah, no. I will actually be open to, like, I am anti day trading. The stats on it are abysmal. The odds of you winning as an individual are horrible. I think you have like a less than 5% chance of winning, like being at least profitable, like just breaking even and like 1 penny more on any year. That chance goes to the less than 1% on any 2 years in a row. The problem is you as an individual trying to compete with these larger firms like Morgan Stanley and the bigger ones in New York who have all the technology, who are right there, like in the middle of it, who have all the information. You're never going to be able to beat them, as somebody, especially if you're working a full-time job and doing this on the side. You just can't.
You might have better odds at winning the lottery.
Yeah, pretty much. But there are so many paths to financial freedom. Whether you want to go the index fund route, the 401k, whether you want to buy real estate and hold it for long periods of time, become a landlord, and even if you break down real estate, it can go into single family, multifamily, commercial. There's so many different paths with that. So it's just, we're not trying to teach kids, here's the one path and you have to go down this, because that's a very boring game. We're trying to show kids, hey, listen, do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that, see what happens. See what happens when you invest all your money into real estate and because your character had a bad credit score, because you made this mistake, now your loans are higher. Now there's a recession in the game, and this is what's happening. Like, oh no, you're done. You should have diversified. You should have been a little bit safer. You should have, paid this off sooner. You should have done this. Be able to teach the kids in the game, because I want them to make mistakes in this game and learn from those mistakes there, instead of in the real world where most adults have, and unfortunately have had to lose years worth of earning because they didn't know.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, just talking about going back to what you were saying about games and how people retain that information, and even in the adult world, right? I do a lot of work with clients in the learning and development space, and this is a huge topic still too, gamification and gaming, and helping them to retain training content through a fun game. And so, why would kids not be able to utilize that? And just think, you're right, teaching them how to make these mistakes in a game where they're obviously the character dies or whatever happens to the character, right? The character goes to the poorhouse, is much better than having them learn it in real life. And hopefully, it will help them to avoid that situation as they, grow older, as they get into the working world. And heck, I want to play this game. I want to try it out. But I also appreciate the fact that you are teaching all these different paths, talking about 401k, about preparing them for when they start their career. And if the company offers a 401k, what are the advantages of going ahead and signing up for that? And then other ways to invest as you're growing in your career and have this money to invest. Real estate, I don't think is ever going to, hopefully, not be a bad investment. But and then of course, here's how not to make your money. Don't be a day trader.
So, and there's so many paths. There's even we're being approached right now by the Houston Office of Business Opportunity to work with them this winter on a kind of winter camp. I almost said a winter summer camp, but a little winter camp for the kids that are out of school and are looking for something to do. They want to teach them a course on entrepreneurship, but that in itself is such a huge task, because an entrepreneur who owns a coffee shop is so different from an entrepreneur who is starting a tech company, who is so different from somebody who is a hydroponics farmer. Like, it's just so diverse, and it can be anything. And we're working on the idea of maybe like a coffee shop, for that program, because it simplifies things. It's inventory management, it's people management, it's hiring, it's firing, it's all the basics. Without having to learn how to code to do it,
Oh, absolutely. And there's some basics of being an entrepreneur, like having a business plan, having a marketing plan. Who's your, ideal customer, and helping them understand that these are the pieces that help you have a successful business. That's funny you mentioned hydroponics farmer, because I just recently met one, and who in fact will be the guest on this show next month, talking about his farm and sustainability. Because
hydroponics is such a crazy thing, and there's hydroponics, and then there's I'm forgetting the word, but it's basically like multi-storied LED light plant growing.
Yeah. I think his farm is very similar to what you are describing. It's a greenhouse with the lighting, the LED lighting. But it's amazing, the process of getting nutrients to the plants and how they grow. It's so crazy, and so I can't wait to feature them.
I love it. Down the line, I want to get into this, because they're literally like,
I'll make the introduction.
Creating an ecosystem where like the fish feed the plants, feed the people, feed the fish. Like, it's crazy. So. Well, that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing, exactly. But back to your program, that is so wonderful that you are going to be partnering up with the Houston, Office of Business Opportunity. I know a few people out there, and I think it's a great area of the city of Houston's mayor's office that helps entrepreneurs and business owners as well. And that'll be a fun little winter break camp. Speaking of education, I think you have some big news to share, and I would love for you to announce it here on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been working on this for a little while, kind of keeping it hush hush, but it just got confirmed yesterday. And man, we've been waiting on this for so long. It's kind of like a big break for us. HISD, if you're not from Houston, or it's the Houston Independent School District. It's the 7th largest school district in the U.S. They were just recently taken over by the state, by the Texas Education Agency, to help kind of revamp it and add in a whole new curriculum to different things. They're changing it up like crazy, making a lot of big moves, which is strange for such large government entities to move so fast.
So quickly, right? Yes, we're used to government agencies moving at a much slower pace.
So it's just, but this has been moving surprisingly fast. Actually, let me take one step back before I say this. Another huge movement that has been moving a lot faster than we thought. For context with what we're doing, pre-COVID, there were only 3 states that had any sort of financial literacy requirement. And most of those were just kind of macroeconomics, which is great. It's better than nothing. But unfortunately, the cost of like lumber in China really doesn't affect my day to day.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm trying to make a budget and figure out how to pay rent, how to get groceries, all the things, feed my family. Yeah.
Oh, 65% of U.S. citizens are living paycheck to paycheck right now. Like,
I believe it.
I don't care about macroeconomics. I just need to pay my rent,
Mhm.
Luckily, now, after COVID, there are 24 states that have either already passed or in the process of passing financial literacy bills, and Texas is among those. So we've gotten really close with the Texas Bankers Association, who is they're kind of like the forefront for lobbying for the state of Texas to push financial literacy into schools. Because, I tell kids all the time when we get to speak to them, I can't guarantee you're going to use geometry for the rest of your life. If you become an engineer, sure. The other 95% of you, probably not, but I can guarantee that every single one of those kids will use money until the day they die, honestly.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's just, why are we not teaching this? But Texas, one of those, they're way ahead. Next fall, 2024, becomes a requirement in schools. So we're trying to get ahead of that. Right now, we are still in development of the game, and we're going to be using this school year as a large kind of like testing pool. We're using this as a combination, kind of combined effort of one, the big announcement. We just got into HISD. We will be working over at Sugar Grove Academy. It's a middle school in HISD where we'll be using EYF, and I'll be teaching game development to the kids. But we'll also be using EYF as one of the games to teach the kids with and get their feedback on and be able to refine the game and make it so much better by the time it's ready to release next year for public purchase. 2, we are also running 2 separate after-school programs, one with Yes Prep over in Bel Air, and 2 with Tough Kids up in the Cleveland ISD area. So between teaching the game in school at HISD and then these 2 after-school programs, we're going to get a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
And, we actually have a meeting with Rice on Monday where they the Rice's research education department or educational research department just released this great study showing like here's all the ways that kids are kind of behind in Texas compared to other states. And the biggest thing that they're behind on is financial education. Not only are we behind, we are also like it is the number one thing that could dramatically change the kind of trajectory of a kid's life, whether they do it or not. So we're glad that the Harvard of the South has just recognized that, and we reached out to them and said, "Hey, here's what we're doing. We just spoke at the Texas Bankers Association's Texas Financial Literacy Summit at the Dallas Federal Reserve a few weeks ago, and we just said, listen, like our heart's in this. We're trying to do this. Like, please come partner with us. Like, we just need help collecting the data and making sure that it looks better than." I'm no data scientist, so we're going to be working with Rice hopefully this fall and spring to collect that data and prove that what we're doing with EYF works, because we kind of already have the data of gamification is the best possible way to teach, and the lack of financial literacy leads to, I think last year it was $415 billion were just wasted because of the lack of financial literacy in the U.S. So it's cool. We know the problem. We know what could be the solution. Now we just need to prove that EYF is that solution for this. So between Rice, HISD, City of Houston, we're super pumped for this school year to get our game out there and start getting it tested by kids and continue redeveloping it and prep for next year's full release launch for anybody who wants to buy it.
Well, I'm excited for you for, gaining those partnerships. It's so important to expand the program and get, the word out there about it too. And I've shown the URL a couple times. It's just EYF.money, easily remembered. And then you'll be able to, simple, exactly. You'll be able to find out more information about their game. I think it's called Money Quest, right?
Money Quest. Yep. So
Awesome.
the company is Earn Your Freedom, the game is Money Quest, and the city that your character kind of runs around in is Prosperity Points.
I love it. I will definitely have to check out this game. So for sure, go check out their website. All the information about the game is on there. There's even a little demo, a YouTube video that's a little demo. Now, as you mentioned, you were looking to officially launch this game next year. You're going to get hopefully all this great feedback from the kids that you'll be working with soon. How can we, as adults, as the community, help you guys?
Absolutely. The biggest thing right now, we're about to go kind of heads down development and teaching mode. So the biggest thing that we need is kind of just support on our social medias. You can just follow us on LinkedIn. If you go to the website, it'll have all of our social medias on bottom. Just follow us on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Instagram, and we're going to start posting because right now the game is built in a 2D platform called RPG Maker.
Uh-huh.
It's great. It works. It gets the message across. But my name's on this, so I take great pride, and I want to do this even better. So we're redeveloping it in Unity in a 3D gaming engine, which will also allow us for lots of other things. Like we have a long list of like future developments we want to add, which include multiplayer and so many other things. But for now, it's all right. What can we do to get the first initial version off the ground? And we're going to start posting devlogs. So like videos, weekly videos of here's the development we did this week. Here's the things that we added to it. Here's what it looks like. So definitely follow us on all of our socials to keep up with that. And we'll be launching a kind of crowdfunding campaign later this year so that we can start raising money so we can hire more devs to help me, speed up the process.
Absolutely.
And, create better artwork, create better multiplayer plugins, just all the different systems because for every one of these different routes you want to take, it's a whole different piece of code. It's a whole different piece of artwork. They all take time. And unfortunately, I'm just one guy who only has 24 hours in the day. So that's the
now
biggest.
8 of it or more will be at a school teaching.
Yes, and and a lot. Yeah, 8 of those I'll be at school. Yeah, teaching kids all day, and that's a whole other thing in itself. So that's the biggest thing right now. We're running a campaign with Impact Hub as our fiscal sponsor. So if you are at a
I'll drop that link. But it's a fundraising campaign.
Yes, so
right?
that's a fundraising campaign. Specifically, all that is going back towards these after-school programs that we're doing, and will help with pay for food, for transportation, for computers for the kids, for things like that. It all goes back to the kids to help them out and provide a better after-school experience for them in this fall and spring semesters. A lot of these kids that we're aiming at Yes Prep and Tough Kids and some of the HISDs, they're at Title I schools, and a lot of them are on kind of free and reduced lunch, where unfortunately the free lunch they get during school is the only meal they get that day. It's just hard, So we're trying to.
Heartbreaking, and you can't really learn if you're hungry.
No. What's that old saying? Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And it's such a simple little thing to just pay for a Chick-fil-A sandwich or something, to help these kids out so they can focus more on like what we're learning. Because cool, a Chick-fil-A sandwich, they're going to be hungry the next day, But if we can feed them and then teach them what we're, trying to, teach of like financial education, of budgeting, of creating a resume, of index fund investing, of real estate, of all these things. And if some of that sticks, they will be better off for life. It's
absolutely
kids how to fish,
Yes, I was gonna say like that saying, give a man a fish, he'll eat, once, but teach him how to fish, he'll be able to eat for a lifetime. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. So I applaud you for your efforts, and I'm so glad that this is out. I have not heard of another program similar to yours. Of course, I'm not in the banking world. I know the banks have these financial literacy kind of workshops and things like that, but this is reaching young people and getting that started earlier in life. And so to help them create a better foundation for themselves as they grow older, as they, graduate.
It's actually great that you brought up banks. We are working with another startup called Find CRA. There's kind of not a loophole, but a system where once a quarter, banks are checked by their local Federal Reserve,
Oh, yes.
for CRA credits, so
Mhm.
Community Reinvestment Act. Because of what we're doing with financial education to kids at these kind of lower income schools, um, we're able to qualify for these CRA credits. So if there, are any banks watching or anybody knows any banks that are interested in connecting with the community with a program like this, please put us in touch because we kind of meet that obligation that the bank is required to meet, and we
Oh,
do
yes.
it in an interesting way that looks a little bit better for the PR and marketing side too.
Yeah, absolutely. Any of my banking connections out there, if you hear this, reach out to Grant. And speaking of which, you feel free to connect with Grant on LinkedIn. I've tagged him in all the posts. I'll drop his URL for LinkedIn again, and of course, learn more about EYF through their website and keep up to date. And hopefully, we'll be able to help and support your crowdfunding campaign soon. And I'll also get the link for the Impact Hub campaign that's running for you guys. And then, of course, you can also help support them by connecting with Earn Your Freedom on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. And it's super easy to find you all on those channels, right? Just Earn Your Freedom.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's right. Keep it simple,
Yes, exactly. It's super simple. But thank you so much for your time today, Grant. Oh my gosh, this conversation has just flown by, just learning about all this. And I, again, I applaud your efforts and am inspired by what you're trying to do. And I think it will definitely help future generations for financial literacy and hopefully making a better world, because it causes those ripple effects to go out into the world beyond just being able to feed your own family or feed yourself. Again, thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you're catching this on the video replay, feel free to drop any comments or questions. And again, I encourage you to connect with Grant, go follow their social media pages, or go learn more at their URL, eyf.money. Thanks so much. Tune in next month for my next guest. You'll learn more about sustainability and hydroponic farming, all the things we were just kind of mentioned with Federico Marquez with Moonflower Farm.
Federico is awesome. I had a feeling you were talking about him.
Federico, yes.
He's amazing with what they've got. So
I can't wait. I'm going to go tour his farm in a few weeks. They'll be exciting and fun to see. But thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day and your week, and we'll see you soon. Go out there and make an impact on your world.
Thank you.